Well, here we are. It's a dreary Sunday, and because I'm a bit bored, I think I'm going to do something I haven't done in about 35 years. I'm going to make an Airfix kit. I've got an Airfix Spitfire. I was talking about Airfix kits with a friend of mine just before Christmas, and then he's gone and bought me one of these for Christmas, and what do you know? Strangely, I'd never made a Spitfire before. I was more of a Hurricane fan and things like that, Messerschmitts and the Weird and Wonderful. So for the first time in a very long time, and for the first time ever, I'm going to make an Airfix Spitfire. And already I'm very apprehensive. So here we go. Let's have a look at what we've got. Well, when I was making them, and when I made millions of them when I was a kid, you used to get these Series 1 models, the little ones, in a polythene bag, and the instructions were folded up at the top and they hung off a spinner from there. And now look what you get. You get a box, you get paint, you get cement. I think we can even see there's a brush. Thank goodness for all that, to be quite honest, because I wouldn't have been ready for it otherwise. So there we are, and on the back, which would have thrilled us when we were kids, not only do you get colour illustrations, but it says actual size, so you can really see what you're buying. Although I have to say, it does take a little bit of the mystery away. And then down here in the bottom, we've got the different coloured paints, which has just caught my eye because they look very different in the pots, don't they? So you have white, bright blue, another white, and that appears to be green and brown in the same pot. Right, it's all new, isn't it? This isn't a nostalgia trip, this is some new adventure. Okay, I was assuming you didn't want to watch me open the box. It was actually more tricky than I'd anticipated. And here we are with a bag full of bits. There appear to be a lot more bits than there used to be, and the detail looks fantastic. This could be quite tricky then. Things have moved on. There's also, you get this, along with the instructions, you get one of these. Oh, there's a membership application form. I thought it was one of those things, they used to do a little leaflet thing where you said a certain part is missing from your model. And if you got 56 parts in your model, you could buy 56 models, send each one of these leaflets off saying a different part had gone missing, and in the end you'd get a free model. Never mind, won't be able to do that then. I was looking forward to 57 Spitfires. There's the transfers, although I think they're called decals these days, I think. And the instructions are nice and big and bold. Look at that. So, here we go. Let's have a look. And start with part number 1. Hello. I don't know if that's visible, but it looks like we start with part number 29. How do you know how many parts there are in the model? Right, well, I'm making a fool of myself, aren't I? It says on the box, if you read the box, it says 36 pieces. I have to say, it looks like a lot more than that, but there we go. Still, lots of fun. Now, I'll open the bag, get all the bits out, and then I might do something that I didn't do in the past. I might actually paint it before I put it together. I remember when I used to do it, I used to just glue everything together wildly and then try and paint the cockpit and the pilot from the outside. In the end it just looked like he'd melted a very large chocolate bar. But we may try to do it properly this time. Now here's something I just noticed. I know I said I was going to go and paint all this, but some interesting things. Lots of detail. So there are all kinds of very finely crafted bits and pieces for us, and Airfix used to just have this sprue stuff that just used to be a long rod and the bits used to come off. Now they're in boxes, which probably allows for that extra detail. And very interestingly, it says in a little plaque here a load of serial number, and it says sprue A, and this one has sprue B. They never used to do that kind of thing. It's all very Very different, very modern, I'm sure. So it's getting more exciting by the moment, isn't it? Right, I'm off to do some painting. I'll let you see the result. Right, I've done a little bit of painting. It turns out, first of all, my first mistake is that the first part isn't number 29, it's number 24. And 29 represents the colour. So colours are numbered. They're numbered on the back of the box. I don't know if that's visible either. I'm not used to colours having numbers really. Never paid attention to that kind of thing. So I've cut the box up. Makes it easier to use. And then I've painted everything. I seem to remember pilots had yellow life vests or May Wests. And by mixing a few of the colours, I've got something approximating flesh colour for the man's face. Although he's a little bit green, so perhaps he's a bit afraid of heights. And I've got something a little bit like grey for the pilot's legs, trousers even, because I seem to remember pilots wore Air Force blue and then had a leather jacket over the top and then the May West over that. So that's what I've worked to. There is a lot more detail inside the cockpit than there used to be. So I've painted some bits. I've lost my brush. I've painted some bits of the cockpit. Again, I mixed up different colours and got a very unattractive green, which I seem to remember some cockpits had, because when I was a little kid there used to be some Second World War aircraft around in London where bits of my family used to be, and used to get held up by relatives and you could look in the cockpit and they were either weird beige or a weird green. So I've got a weird green by mixing number 90 and number 30, which it'll do, I think. And then I've done the interior of the cockpit and got a bit carried away and done some of those structural lines in black, which I think might have been a bad idea. Never mind, we'll make do. There's also what might be oxygen canisters, and for some reason I painted them yellow. Probably because they'll show up if I look in the cockpit one day. Which again might be a foolish thing to have done. Never mind. The other thing that I've found is super exciting. There's a transfer for putting on the sort of dashboard of the airplane, and that I think could be a devil of a job, but that's what I'm going to do now. Right, so now I've built most of the cockpit. So we've got the little man, or I suppose he's a pilot, isn't he? He has to fit his feet through this sort of dash panel section, and his little boots were a little bit big. So I just trimmed a bit of his toes off, which leads me to another point. Getting all of these pieces off the sprue is a lot harder than I remember, because I remember it just being those little twig-like things. Now they're in these frameworks. You've got to get some tools. You've got to get some scissors and a knife, which is quite remarkable. So we've managed to get this far without any accidents, but having to sort of upgrade my skills a little. The other thing is we've got the propeller. I never used to make them with turning propellers or wheels or any of that silliness. It seemed a bit immature. But now I'm going to give it a go. I've got a funny feeling this one might be a bit loose and a bit wobbly, which is what I always feared as a kid. But we'll see how it goes. All in all, the cockpit is very detailed and very nice. A little bit wobbly from time to time, but once you've got it in the body, or the fuselage, it all holds together quite nicely. And I hope that any of the horrible stuff you won't be able to see once it's all been put together. So there we go, the first bit of gluing. Oh, and I got the transfer on there. I wonder if I can show that off. I actually managed to get it on. No, I don't think that's showing up particularly well. But it's in there, and you might just be able to see it. You never know. Worth the effort, isn't it? So now I'm currently holding the body or fuselage together. Oh look, I've left the lid off the glue. Yeah, I've made a bit of a mess. I think the interior framework of the cockpit, I've allowed it to just go a little bit offline, so the body of the plane isn't happy going together. So I'm going to stand like this probably for about a quarter of an hour, I suspect. But there we go. It's just towards the cockpit area that's the problem. But it looks like I can take that hand away, so I can put the lid on the glue. Brilliant. Now has come the big moment. It's time to put the wings on the body. So here we go. I'll just put little bits of glue on, and I'm just giving it a little trial run. So it's going to be a snug fit, but it is going to fit. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the basics of a Spitfire. What's very interesting is, you can't improve on an Airfix kit, I'm sure, but they have refined them, and things like the tail plane, in the past you'd always do them and one would point up and the other one would point down, or they'd both be pointing down when they should be pointing up. But the way they've refined that, they are really nice. They sit in perfectly. I'm very impressed. That's quite good. So there we are, we're getting there, making progress. So here we are with the wings gluing. It's just that back bit needs a little bit of pressure, and really, I mean, the drama of it, it's so exciting. We're nearly there. I've just noticed I'm covered in, oh no, look, I've left the lid off the glue again, and I'm covered in paint. How have I got that covered in paint? I haven't used that much paint. Well, it was one of those badges of honour to not get covered in paint and glue. I'm letting my younger self down, aren't I? Still, there we go. Yeah, so only a few more bits to do. I'm going to have the wheels in. I always used to have the wheels out because it meant there would be more parts to muck around with and enjoy. But they never looked like they were active and exciting and dynamic. So, to break with tradition, the wheels are going to be in. But there we are with the wings going on. The lid of the glue off, and me covered in paint and glue, to my absolute horror. No, I daren't let it go. I think it needs another couple of minutes. But, yeah, we're nearly there. The propeller's not spinning very well, is it? But, well, we'll see. Right, that's all the parts on, apart from the glass canopy that'll probably get paint all over if I'm not careful. So there are the bits all glued on. The underside's got a little bit of paint on because I put too much on my brush, so I ended up spreading a bit around just for fun. And there it is. Actually, sort of building time was probably around about an hour, including holding on to bits and holding them tight and all of that. So that's not bad. Paint, that's all that's next. I'm probably going to let myself down again, aren't I? Not just get covered, but probably make a right mess of the camouflage. We will see. I'll start with the underside. So there it is, painted. It was a bit traumatic, I have to say. The paint's a bit like, maybe I'm getting it wrong, it's a bit like mud. I started off, I don't think I mixed it up in the pots well enough, so it was a bit runny and it came out a bit kind of leathery and shiny. And now it looks a bit thick, and the colours look a bit intense as well. So, daylight's gone, maybe I'm just being a bit paranoid, but it looks a bit dark and a bit dense. So tomorrow I'll have a look at it outside and see how things look. But right now it's looking a bit heavy. The underside, on the other hand, is a lot better. That is a nice colour. And that's really what I remember from when I saw these aeroplanes outside. I think it was Northolt Airport. And I think the Hurricane I saw was a bit more beige than this, and a little bit more shiny. Maybe they'd put a gloss paint on to cope with the weather a bit better. But the underside's looking good. Top side's looking a bit intense. I will put the transfers on, or the decals. Oh, do you know what I've missed? Any ideas, everybody? I haven't put on the cockpit canopy. Maybe I'll do that next and then put the transfers on, and then we'll have a look at it when daylight returns. Right, well here we are at last. It's the next day, and we have the nice bright white light of day shining on us, and the colours don't look too bad after all. It's interesting that the transfers always have a bit of shine on them. That's something I always struggled with as a kid, and they're a little bit wrinkly. They seem to have responded badly to my slapdash approach, so that's something I've got to work on. But there it is, not looking too bad. So all in all, it's a very nice little model. There's an awful lot of detail, which is very nice. And the questions are, did I enjoy it? Because it's meant to be a hobby, you're meant to have fun. Did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. Would I do another one? Yeah, I think I would actually. There's always the hurricane to do, and the Messerschmitt, and a mosquito perhaps. There's all sorts out there, aren't there? So this is alright for a first go after a very long time. Oh, and yes, there are the unanswered questions. Does the propeller go round? Yeah. If you blow it, does it go round? No. I managed to, well, I thought it was going to be too loose, didn't I? So I cut the end off the sort of rod that runs into the body. I cut 1 millimetre or so off it, and that made it a bit too snug fitting. So you turn it by hand now. And the canopy was interesting because it's such a snug fit, it didn't really need any glue, which is a joy because I always used to get a bit of glue on the glass, so it was no longer glassy. I don't think I ever made a model without getting glue on the glass, so this could be another first. Absolutely brilliant. What else? I suppose I should make a Lancaster bomber. Never made one of those either. I suppose the real question now is, what do you do with all the leftover sprue? I suppose it's recyclable.